Yeah, Republican State Senator T.J. Shope announced today that he's launching an investigation into alleged mismanagement of taxpayer money and possible conflicts of interest within the Hobbs administration. This all stems from a recent ruling from an administrative law judge who concluded that the Arizona health care cost containment system, known as Access, improperly awarded $15 billion worth of contracts to health care providers. The state is accused of lacking transparency and having a flawed ranking system when it evaluated bids to take care of thousands of elderly and physically disabled individuals. 3 longtime providers that did not receive bids, Mercy Care, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Banner Health, have now filed a motion in Superior Court seeking legal relief, claiming the state's bid process was unfair.
In this particular case, I would forget about the Republicans and the Democrats and concentrate on what the judge said. And when a judge enters the fray and makes a determination, I think that adds a lot of credibility to the arguments. And in this particular case, the judge advised, at least, that they should go out and redo the entire bid.
Now, despite the judge's recommendation to start the bid process over, the state has no plans to do that. Instead, the transition to the new health care providers that were awarded bids has been pushed back until next year. The providers who weren't chosen in this case have now filed a motion in Superior Court seeking relief. I reached out to the governor's office for comment and was told they cannot comment because this is now a legal matter.
Jason, you mentioned that possible conflict of interest with the governor's office. Can you break that down more for us?
Yeah, one of the big questions is whether or not there's a connection between Governor Hobbs' office and the 2 providers that were awarded bids in this case. Some people have speculated about campaign contributions to Hobbs' campaign when she ran for governor, and whether or not there's a connection between those 2 providers and whether that's a conflict of interest. You can bet that will be one of the topics they discuss as this investigation moves forward.
Yeah, working to get to the bottom of it. Jason Berry, thank you.